secret and secret places. By morning, all of our time knew that Alex Dowie was the one who had almost gotten them discovered and killed. Of course, if Alex or anyone was anywhere inside the world of our time, he probably wouldn't have been detected by the governors, who merely saw the same desolate scene that the Unwanted had seen when they first trudged through the Black Iron Gate 60 months before. But Mr. Today was not usually one to take chances when it came to protecting his world, and it had been standard to protocol during all the biennial governors' inspections since the beginning of our time to place all the citizens on lockdown inside their magically hidden rooms. Mr. Today, despite his creativity, was a man of order, and he liked for everyone to be in proper places and not roaming about. But what if the spell broke? What if a chaotic fight broke out in the lounge or in the theater? Or what if a student wandered off and was attacked in the jungle, and Mr. Today was unavailable to handle that situation? No, it was the safest for him to know that he had been assured each person in the domestic creature was secured in his appropriate place during that stressful half-day visit. All the people and creatures that did follow the instructions would of course be very quiet with the one who didn't. And so when the word got out that Alex Dowie had seemingly defeated their dear and faithful leader, and that it was Alex Dowie who had put them all in danger, well, almost no one could muster up an ounce of pity for him. Megan, though she had been furious earlier on, tried to swallow her anger as she talked to Alex at lunch, and Lanny sent him pitifying glances from her soulful blue eyes. But by then, Alex was so utterly mortified by all the harsh looks and pointing fingers and whispers hidden by the cupped hands that he wrestled his way out of the dining room the first chance he got, and closed himself in his room for the rest of the day, skipping his private lesson with Miss Octava, as well as the actor studios with Mr. Appleblossom, even though it meant missing his star performance in Paris. Alex went into his bedroom, shut the door so he could practically block out Sybil's endless yapping, and curled up on the bed, pinching his eyes shut to stop the headache that stabbed at him. In and out, he breathed, wishing with all his might that he could just go back to Quill, where he had no expectations or dreams or hopes or imagination or responsibilities at all. He could just be, not have everyone angry with him, not be the only one who didn't succeed. In Quill, he'd be surrounded by people whose idea of success was getting up every day and picking corn or fixing the rusty and creative box-like buses and quiltary tanks, preparing endlessly, mindlessly for a day that would never come. Indeed, Alex felt like he became unwanted all over again. He thought about his brother, which hurt him even more. Aaron would understand. Aaron would be there for me, he said, as if he were challenging anyone to deny it. I just wish at least he knew I was alive. His inner Alex didn't respond. Eventually, Alex fell into a fitful sleep. What he didn't know was that while he slept, the secret meetings of adults occurred in a very large office at the end of a mostly invisible hallway nearby. Mr. Today's office. Mr. Today rose from behind his desk when two ladies arrived. "Hello, Claire. Hello, Octava," he said. Octava shook Mr. Today's hand with a little tentacle of her own, and Claire placed a kiss on the man's cheek. "You're looking a bit less harried this evening," Claire said. The old mage turned abruptly as his whispered hair. "The scare is over now," he said, but his voice was firm. "But it doesn't change the situation. It was a very close call, and I'm not sure how many more times I can sustain the visits before the governors begin to suspect something. I could have sworn I saw a ripple along the edge of the boiling oil when Alex was wandering out." He ran his fingers over his hair now, trying to smooth it down. "Octava, what's the latest?" Octava gripped the arms of a chair and slid up to the seat. Her tentacles moved along softly, one rubbing thoughtfully along the other of her alligator snout, another adjusting her spectacles, and another dangling all around the edges of the chair like a flouncy skirt, wavering gently as if they were floating in air. "Well, Marcus, you know how I feel. The boy's growing desperate. I can see it in his drawings. He's completely brilliant and should have been in magical water training months ago. He skipped his private lesson today, you know." She clicked her tongue against his enormous teeth and shook her head slowly. "I'm not sure we're doing the right thing at all by holding him back." Claire sighed. "I'm growing less sure of myself every day now. Gunnar spotted him deep in the jungle before the governors arrived, and tracked him along the stream all the way to the shore, where the boat rests. Alex is spending all his time alone. Frankly, I don't blame him. Everyone's angry with him, and he feels bad now he's the only one not in magical training. It's only making matters worse." Mr. Day shook his head and sank back in his chair. Oh, he said quietly. What to do? I'm afraid that if Alex starts training, he'll use his magic to find his brother. The powerful connection between twins, it's a huge risk we don't need right now. Especially now that Aaron is in Justin's good grace and under her watchful eye. He pressed his 2 forefingers to his lips and closed his eyes, thinking hard. For several minutes he remained quite still. When he opened his eyes, they were moist. "How I wish I could have convinced Justin to eliminate both twins, but she wouldn't have," he said. "The wanted twins, not one infraction. Not even a hint of one. If Alex wasn't able to tempt Aaron into drawing in the dirt, I'm not sure Aaron would have been much use here, but at least we would have this potential problem on our hands." "Marcus," Octava said, "what we need to do is to get the boy to forget about his brother, to get him busy training immediately. Keep his mind occupied so he doesn't have time to dwell on it. How hard can it be? Human siblings have done it for years here without issue." Mr. Today's eyes narrowed sharply. He glanced at Claire and back at Octava. When he spoke, he was in the most serious hushed tone. "You must understand, my dear lady, that it is a very, very different with twins. There's a connection, a loyalty that exceeds all others." Claire stared at her hands in her lap. Miss Octava closed her lips over her teeth, folded several arms across her chest, and frowned. "So it's inevitable, you're saying? The connection between twins that is so strong he'll never give up?" "That is what I believe. He is capable of figuring spells on his own eventually, with or without the training," Octava muttered, shaking her long head. "How soon before it begins? I can't say," Mr. Today said, "but I'm uneasy. I don't know what it is, but something else is brewing. Siegfried told me some of the suspicious behavior, part of a few kids of his actors. Costumes gone missing, fights breaking out, something's going on." "What? I don't yet know, but I'm feeling cautious for our time. We may be in for some trouble." Miss Octava snapped her jaw angrily. "They were all doing Alex a great disservice by forcing him to be vulnerable. unable to protect himself. Mr. Today regarded Octava for a moment, then Mr. Morning's Claire, who had been sitting her lips anxiously throughout the conversation, closed her eyes, opened them again. There's other way to make Alex forget about Aaron. You know I won't do that. Well then, I agree with Octava, she said finally. Mr. Today dropped his head in his hands, took a deep breath, and then looked up. His eyes were weary again. Then it's decided. Octava began the boys' training at once, and Claire, yes. A sorrowful understanding passed between them. I'm afraid it's come. It's time. Prepare our warriors for a battle. The way it is with twins. Alex tossed and turned in his sleep, anxiously overflowing into a clutch of frightening dreams. He dreamed of Lani and Megan taunting himself and pointing their fingers, of Miss Day's disappointing in himself, the sea turning back into the great lake of boiling oil, of the entire civilizations of our time, Frog marching to the edge of the lake and shoving him in as he screamed. He dreamed of Quill, only instead the drab colorlessness and simplification functionary of it at all. From the single road that encircled the land to the rusty military jalopies that had been used for training on and off for the past 50 years, to the quadrant of land where crops and farm animals were raised. He dreamed that Quill was brighter than it used to be, that things were painted and that children were allowed to laugh and make things with sticks, that Aaron and he still shared a tiny bedroom, but now they were allowed to whisper in the night and laugh after finishing each other's sentences and tell each other about dreams they had, rather than keeping them all inside and wondering. He dreamed that Aaron was murmuring for him, that Aaron missed him just as Alex longed for Aaron. If that day met again, and Alex was so glad to see him that Aaron wrapped his arms around his brother and said how terribly, awfully sorry he was that Alex was unwanted and that there had been a mistake, but that they had thought it was too late, that Alex was already dead. In the dream, Aaron couldn't believe that there was a magical land where hundreds of unwanted lived, and so Alex convinced Aaron to come and see for himself, and then when he did, Aaron didn't want to go back. That was a happy dream, said Alex. And Alex, though he didn't know it, he smiled in his sleep. He was thrilled that Aaron knew that he was still alive, and then when Alex frequently delivered Aaron back to Quill, he whispered excitedly, "Promise not to tell anyone." "Not anyone. Maybe next time you can stay with me for good." "I won't tell," Aaron said. "I promise. You have to come back again soon." And just as they turned and waved and satisfied, heartful goodbye, and Alex turned away to enter the gate into our time again, he looked back of shoulder one last time. His heart stopped. In place of his dear brother Aaron appeared the sinister face of High Priest Justin. "Alex!" Alex jumped awake and shouted, "No! Alex, please don't make me shout through your bedroom door. My voice is delicate, and after so many weeks of the shoe." "Sylvie, is that you?" For a moment, Alex didn't know where he was. "Oh boy," Sylvie said, and rolled his eyes. Alex scrambled off the bed and opened the door to the sitting area. "Why are you shouting at me? It's 7 o'clock in the morning for crying out sideways." "Miss Octava is waiting to speak with you. Put on a shirt or something." "Good gracious, I'll deliver her as soon as you say you're ready." Alex groaned at all the memories of the previous day flooding back. "More trouble," he said, "for skipping yesterday's lesson." He slid a t-shirt over his head, pulled on his short, and waited breathlessly in front of the blackboard. "Okay," he said. Miss Octava appeared. "Hello, Alex," she said, peering down and snout at him. Alex nodded. "Hi, Miss Octava," he mumbled, waiting. "I missed you yesterday. Were you ill?" Not exactly, man. I see. She adjusted her glasses. Well, you'll be here today, won't you? Yes, ma'am. Good. We're starting your magical warrior training, and I wouldn't want you to miss that. I look forward to seeing you. She nodded curtly. Her picture faded into a black screen, leaving Alex standing with his jaw slacked in amazement. Sylvie resurfaced and gave a patronic smile. Well, it's about time. Shove a sock in it, Sylvie. He showered, dressed, and then head off to classes, puzzling just a little over his dreams before pushing them back into the dark corner of his mind. At the same time, just a few miles away, another boy who looked identical to Alex was doing the exact same things. Aaron the Wanted. When the buzzer sounded, Aaron Stowey left his tiny gray dormitory room in the Wanted University and entered the hallway as a dozen others did the same. They walked shoulder to shoulder to different cafeterias for breakfast and ate gruel solitary in silence. Chatting at mealtime was not permitted, so the students ate quickly and moved on to their assignments for the day. While most students still went to their classrooms to continue their basic learning, Aaron had excelled and been promoted. He walked towards the exit where a square, rust-colored military jeep pulled up. Just as Aaron reached the edge of the narrow road encircled Quill, the vehicle bleached out acid black smoke and smelled like burning chicken grease. He got inside and nodded to the driver. Vehicle roared and sputtered past government offices and the new favorite farm. Aaron's own creation, where special high-quality, high-graded vegetables, fruits, grains, and animals were now raised for consumption of the high priest Justine, the governors, and the Quilitary. The barbed wire ceilings cast grind-like shadows lined almost exactly with the row of crocs. It's looking fine. Aaron noted with a hint of satisfaction. Since Aaron was considered to be very promising, showing not the only highest intelligence of his class, but budding strength as well, he had been chosen to train directly under the guidance of Senior Governor Harluki, a slight graying man who was the high priest's second in command, and the Governor Strang, a proven young man of 20. Like Strang had been, Alex Dowie was a serious boy, quiet and completely dedicated to the service of the High Priest of Quill at all costs. He was just the sort of boy who grows up to be a dangerously powerful man. The vehicle clunked and groaned up the winding hill to the palace of the High Priest Justine. For on the day, Aaron was being rewarded. First, for his excellent work in solving the beef problems for the High Priest. Second, of his insight into the matters of the Favor Farm at large. And third, for his program which outlined precisely how to run the farm most efficiently. It had been his last assignment in math class, and since all of the university's students' work was checked by governors, it didn't take long for Governor Strang to notice Aaron's percent for economics. Economics was something that High Priest Justine was very fond of, especially because it was always benefited her. It was Aaron's suggestion to work on the farm with the same manner that people of the land of Quill, sorting the farm animals into 3 categories: wanted, necessary, and unwanted. The highest quality of animals would be separated at the Favor Farm to breed and be fattened up, and then low qualities would be stocked to send to the common farm to be bred and raised for common consumption by the necessaries, and it had been Aaron's suggestion to send the Quilitary to the common farm to transplant the highest quality crops to the Favor Farm as well. Now that the Favor Farm was running without a single hitch and process was complete, Aaron had been invited to the palace to have lunch with the governors and the High Priest Justine herself. It was an incredible honor. Aaron was pleased with his achievement so early in his instruction, but of course he didn't smile outwardly when he had heard the news. After all, few alliance was to Quill, and since his parents were both necessaries, he felt like he had to make extra effort to prove to the governors that he was the highest quality and worth of his wanted title. All these thoughts filled his mind, though at one point his slow journey to the palace going uphill thought perturbed his brain concerning a recurring dream he had lately. It frightened him more than he cared to admit to himself, because he thought he had managed to eliminate the dreams entirely from a young age once he had learned that they were wrong. But several times since the purge had he awakened, horrified and feeling terribly guilty, and not only he dreamed about something, but that something was his brother, Alex. A half year had passed since Alex had been eliminated. Aaron admitted that he felt a bit bad for at least an hour until his mother had warned him to forget about it, and his entrance of the university that the day after the purge. Well, it really hadn't been difficult to forget Alex. Indeed, it was rare for Aaron to think of his twin at all, but on the rare occasion he did, Alex felt sort of a faint, fuzzy memory after one wonders, did that really happen? Aaron knew better than to tell anyone these recent dreams, though now he held in such high esteem for a young student. It would have been definite career-killing sign of weakness that if he was to admit that to anyone. He shuddered to think it. Finally, the vehicle came to a spurring stop at the entrance of the palace. Aaron's mind turned swiftly back to the affairs of Quill and luncheon with the elite. He brushed the nagging thoughts away and walked briskly and with confidence to the qualitary guards who stood at the palace doors. Your license, please. Aaron pulled out a folded document from his jacket and pocket and handed it to the guard. Code? Quill prepares when the strong survives. The governors await, the guard said. He opened the creaking door and Aaron stepped inside. Governor Sarugi and Strang stood in the dimly lit entrance. Good day, Aaron, Haruki said, looking the boy over with a trained eye. Your first time here? Need I remind you that you're not to discuss this visit with anyone? It is not necessary, sir, but I thank you nevertheless. Very good. Follow me. Without farther comment, Haruki turned and walked briskly down a dark stone corridor. Aaron clipped along behind him, keeping his eyes focused straight ahead. Strang brought up the rear. They entered a room with a long table, a dozen chairs around it. 3 women and a man sat at the far end of the table, conversing in soft tones, their heads close to each other. 2 of the women could not be more than 20, and the man was quite young as well. Aaron's eyes stayed briefly to the displayed potted plants in the corner of the room before he looked away hastily. He kept his expression bland, void of surprise he felt over seeing vegetarians indoors. Good day, governors, Strang said to the 4 at the table. A round of polite good days was exchanged in response. This is young Aaron Stowe, the instigator of the favored farm plan. Well met, Aaron Stowe, came the even reply, though Aaron had met them all at one point or another half the year he had been at university. Good day, governors, he said. Aaron, Haruki, and Strang joined the 4 at the table as the interrupted conversation continued again. Aaron sat at the fringe of it, licking his hand linked together on the table, await that he should be allowed to listen as the governors discussed recent and long-standing issues of the quality of military vehicles and the current state of water shortage. When the door opened again, 2 military guards entered, followed by the statuette of High Priest Justine. 2 additional guards trailed behind and waited at the door. Everyone stood abruptly and turned towards the woman. Aaron swallowed hard. He'd never been this close to her before. He lowered his eyes, apparently, though not before he caught a glimpse of her structured face, etched with wrinkles around her burning black eyes and pinched mouth. She wore her hair down, as always, white streaks naturally painted over the silver. Her gown, a colorless following garment, was covered by a black cloak, which rested heavily on her shoulders. Immediately following the High Priest Justine came a small encouraging of service staff pushing a squeaky cart that held the luncheon. The governors and Aaron bowed deeply before the stately women. Justine glanced around, her eyebrows raised slightly. She stopped at Aaron, her appraisingly glance apparently finding her favor with the boy. "Young Mr. Stowe, I presume," he said in a powerful voice, starting the silence. "Forever at your service, Madame High Priest," murmured Aaron, as he'd been taught. "May all quarrel as enemies die 1,000 deaths." She held out her hand, long fingers reaching limply. Aaron took her hand in his and bowed his head over as he had been instructed. Her fingers were as cold as barbed wire on a frosty night. This is the end of this video. Bye!